Hello everybody, this is Mr. B and you're watching Music Notes. On today's episode, we're going to be learning all about Roland's 808 VST plugin, and we're going to do a little background information about the legendary 808, where it came from, and how we got here today. So, here we go.
In 1980, a Japanese company called Roland launched a strange little box that would end up changing music forever, the TR-808 Rhythm Composer. At first, it flopped. Critics hated its robotic sound. No real drum samples, just pure analog weirdness. But then the underground embraced it. Artists like Afrika Bambaataa and Marvin Gaye saw it as magic. That deep kick, those crisp hi-hats, instant funk. The 808 became the heartbeat of hip-hop, Miami bass, techno, and trap. It wasn't real. It was better than real. From Kanye's 808s and Heartbreaks to today's trap anthems, that iconic boom lives on. Even Roland brought it back. Smaller, sleeker, digital. The TR-808 didn't just make beats, it made history.
So now that we know a little background about the 808, let's dive into what the plugin version is going to look like. Okay, so this is the VST version of the Roland 808, and it's actually very easy to learn and understand. First off, let's go down to the different instruments. Everything is color coordinated, just like the original machine would have looked like. Here's a kick, bass drum, snare drum, low tom, mid tom, high tom, rim shot, clap, cowbell, the classic cowbell. You can't live without it. Cymbals, open hi-hat, and closed hi-hat. Okay, these are classic 808 sounds. You can't go wrong with these sounds. We can also switch these. So look, right here is the BD, which is the bass drum. If we come up here, it'll say bass drum. And right here is where you can affect how your bass drum sounds. That's why this was so revolutionary at the time. Because if I want to change the tone of my bass drum, or the decay of it, making it last a lot longer, you can get some very deep sub sounds. Hence, that's where the 808 sound comes from, that we hear as really sub bass in today's music. We all call it the 808. That's where it comes from. The level is the volume, and you can do the same thing with your snare drum. A little bit different parameters here. I got snappy. I can make it snappy. And change the tone. Then we have this, the low tom. We can also change that to the low conga by flipping this switch right here. Now it's a low conga instead of a low tom. I can change it back to the low tom. And we can adjust the tuning of that as well. Okay, so right here, the next one, MT mid tom, can also be switched to a mid conga. And then your high tom and a high conga. So here's the high tom and the mid tom, and let's change all those to the mid conga and the high conga. Okay, rim shot, same thing. So right now it's RS is on a rim shot. Classic rim shot. With the rim shots, we cannot adjust the tuning of it. That is only for these ones, and looks like our cymbal. Okay, everything else is just the classic sound. Okay, so if I can change the rim shot to a clave. I'm going to come over here to the rim shot. So many of these sounds have been played on, I don't know what percentage of music played around the world of radio-friendly music from 1980 and on. Here's your clap. Let's change that to maracas. Okay, then we have our classic, the cowbell. I mean, that is the 808 cowbell sound. Doesn't sound anything like a real cowbell, but there's just something nostalgic about it, and something for some reason when they created it, it just works. There's a cymbal. Okay, that can be, the tone can be adjusted for that one, and the decay. And then our open hi-hat, it has a decay parameter too. And our closed hi-hat. Those are the sounds. Okay, so there's also this is the front panel. If I come over here, you see where it's right here, it says panel. If I select that, you could see that these all switch now to the gain and the panning. We still have some tuning with the bass drum. So I just want to show you that's what the panel is, the gain and the panning. Okay. And some additional tuning just on the bass drum and the cowbell. Classic cowbell. Classic. Okay, next I want to show you guys is the patterns. So we have A through H different patterns. This is how you change the patterns that's playing through. So right now I've been on A, and now I'm going to go to B. Now it's on B, and I can go to C, and then to D, and all the way through to H. Well, we can even edit the patterns just by going and clicking this little edit button right here. Check this out. Boom. Edit. Let's edit it. Okay, well, same thing. You can see here's all of the different instruments. Here's the beats, 1, 2, 3, and 4. It's just the regular sequencer. If you already have learned about the sequencer before, this is going to be a breeze to program your own. Okay, this is how we program different variations. So right now I'm in A variation, and then I can edit and change all of these through A through H different variations. Okay, so right now it's playing on the D variation. So let's look at the D variation. See, it's playing on the D variation, and I'm editing the D variation. So you know what? I need more cowbell. So let's add some cowbell. So this is the cowbell section. And it's that easy to edit. Okay, that's right in the editing. The edit tab. Start and stop. Okay, now these two extra little buttons here. One says flam and one says subsets. What that does is it adds a little something extra to whatever note that you put it on. So let's try it out. First off, we have 9 different types of flam. So let's just put it on my cowbells. Okay, I'm going to play it right now. I have no cowbells. Let's hear what it sounds when I add some flam on right here. What that did is that it added like almost a echo or delay of the notes, maybe like a really quick repeating of the notes. Added some flavor to it for sure. And you can try different kinds of flam. Here, what that's really doing is just making the same note like repeat very quickly, very, very quickly. And there's different levels to it. Now let's try type 1 subset. And there's, well, this other type, there's a subset and there's 3 different types here. What does this do? Let's find out. It's like flam, but it spreads the notes out a little bit longer, it seems like, okay? The best way to really understand these two, flam and the subset, is just experimenting with it, putting it on there, seeing if you like anything that it does. And that's what those do. Okay. Moving on to the scale of it. All right, that's what this is. And remember, all of these drum machines are going to be very similar. All the Roland VST drum machines are going to be very similar. So when you see these, well, what does the scale do? And I see this red dot in between these other dots. I'm actually going to click it to see where these are at. This is just the scale of it. That means it's going to either make it faster or slower, either half time it or even a different time. So right now, let's try it with, let's put it on the next scale down. Ooh, that's twice as fast. Let's see what the next one is. Okay, it slowed it down. That one's super fast. Okay, so the first one is definitely half timed. Then we're at 120. Then we're at probably double timed. And then this middle one is probably something in the middle. So that's what scaling does. If you want a quick reference, you're like, well, let me just hear what it sounds like. Half the speed. Kind of a vibe, right? Okay. Okay, next let's look at some of the pre-made drum patterns and pre-made drum kits. Look, when we're talking about the 808, we don't have to reinvent the wheel or any of the drum machines for that matter, because patterns have always been made, right? So we can easily edit it. You just learned that. But there's patterns that are already created. So let's take a look at those. And some of those are actually really fun to play with. In the pattern list right here, all right, we have a few different patterns that are from the Roland Cloud library. Everything from dark techno to Egyptian lover and even modern beats. These are really cool because these are going to be like modern drum patterns made on an 808. If you're like, well, I'm just not sure about what Egyptian lover does, which he's a pioneer in the 808 drum sequencing. We can also go to the modern hip hop beats 1.0. Okay, let's just look at a drill pattern. Okay, that is right here on the pattern. Now I'm going to select a drum kit, and it's very similar. The drum kit and the drum pattern, the drum kits and the drum patterns can easily be switched around. Then you can manipulate them and save them as your own presets. So that's really, really cool. I'm going to put a jersey kit on, and I've got a drill pattern. Let's hear what that sounds like. Now take a look at what's happening here. It's playing all of the patterns in a row. Back to A, then B, then C, and D, and so on. Well, why is that important? Because you can hear all of the different preset patterns that is created by the person who came up with these patterns. And if we want to like get a closer look into the editing of it, well, what is pattern A really doing? This is pattern A. And G and H are usually going to be fills in the end of sections. Okay, these are usually going to be certain fills. Now, because we have 8 different patterns doesn't mean we have to use all 8 of the patterns. That's really important. I don't think they're supposed to be necessarily all used all in a row without some kind of manipulation and arrangement. Because G and H usually have some fills in it. And look at H. It has some flam on there. Nope, it's got a subset on there. And it's kind of like a fill. Okay, so let's just put on H. And that's how it gets that roll. This is like a drum roll, a snare roll right here with that subset type 1 on there. Okay. So really, really easy and fast and fun ways to come up with patterns that already exist. And then you can find kits to match them. And we have a ton of different kits. When you're looking through these kits, you see all of these blank ones. Those are for you to save your own presets. You can change some sounds. You can change some patterns. You can have both kits saved and patterns saved. Okay, now that we have a pattern and kit ready to go, well, how can we introduce those into our timeline? Here, let me show you. There's actually 2 ways to do this. One, we can pop it straight directly into the timeline. And second, we can create scenes, which is one of my favorite things to do. And I'll show you both. Okay, so here are our patterns. A through H. Okay. It's really easy. All you have to do is hover your mouse over the pattern you want to include into your kit. Your timeline. A, for example. And there it is. It's located. I put it right on my timeline. And let's say if I wanted C for the next one, or maybe I wanted C or D afterwards, and finish off these 4 bars with the fill, I can go ahead and put that like that. Okay. See, this is ACH1, CCH1, DCH1, HCH1. It's that easy. It's so easy to do. And now I'm going to show you how to put it into the different scenes as well. And literally, we can drag and drop these right into the scenes just as easy as putting it on our timeline. Okay. And I'll just make like the same kind of structure there in our scenes. Now, the last thing that you have to do, this is very important that you must remember. All right. So I've got my 4 different scenes, 1 per bar, and you can really arrange these however you want to. But this is the most important thing, or you're not going to be able to hear your patterns if you don't do this one move. Okay. So you're going to come over to pattern. All right. Everybody watch. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see this. Go into pattern and select an empty pattern. Okay, remember what pattern that you got your drums from. Write it down or take a note or whatever. Maybe you want to go back and get some other patterns from it. But if you don't deselect a pattern, it will play the pattern and the notes that are on your timeline. at the same time, and we don't want that. So you must select a blank pattern if you want to hear the MIDI data that is on your track. Okay? So now we can listen to our... We can listen to our song and there's no problems. Okay? That's the last and most important part to this. Okay, so now that we have made or exported a couple regions and put them into our scenes also, let's learn how to route each of these different instruments to their own channel, which is important when we're mixing it or we want to adjust volumes and levels. Okay, so now let's route each of our instruments to their own channels using the 808 drum machine. Okay, the first thing that we're going to do is open up your 808 drum machine. All right, open that up. And then you're going to go to this option section right here. And we're going to select the options. We're going to go to sub output. And now we're going to see all of our different instruments from the 808 drum machine listed 1 through 11 because that's how many sounds are on there. And we're going to route. So just go ahead and select all of those. You can customize it if you're not using a specific instrument, but it's totally okay just to have them all there. Okay, so all of those are selected. All right, let's close that out. And now we're going to open up our mixer. All right, so our mixer is open like this. Okay, now it's really important that we can have our channels listed and our show instruments rack. Okay. Our goal here is to route every one of those to their own channels. Right now it's going to one channel. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to do is you're going to click on where it says TR808. And we're going to select all of those subs that we just created. That's it. Now you can see that if they're not showing up, maybe they're turned off in your track view. But literally, here are all of the 11 tracks, and you can see that they are all doing something. Where we got the kick and the snare and all of these different instruments going to their own channel. Okay, so now that we've gone through the whole 808 VST plugin and how to route it, let's save this as a preset music loop in our browser. Okay, so I color coded and I labeled each of the channels, and as you can see, I labeled them according to what instrument is associated with that channel. Okay, so what we're going to be doing now is that all we're going to be doing is saving this pattern as a music loop. And since I have 4 different patterns and 4 different bars, first thing I want to do is combine them into one region, one MIDI region. So I'm going to highlight all 4 of these different regions, and then I just press G. Voila, they are merged together. Okay, so now we're going to open our browser, and in our files section, you can see over here in your files section where in our all sounds, I am simply, it's really easy to do this, and you can do this with any pattern that you make. We can just drag this and pop it over here. So now, there it is. And it will always just be saved in our or file section under all sounds. Now let's rename it. So if I select, or if I press Control right click and then go to rename the file, and let's just call it 808 pat 1 for pattern 1. Now there it is, the 808 pattern 1. Any drum or MIDI that you make, you can always save in the audio loops and use them later. This is going to be really helpful for if you're making a drum pattern and you're not currently using it, you're going to save it for another project and you can just boom, open it up. There's your original drum pattern and you can instantly create. For example, if I drag this and I put it on its own track over here, it is just going to duplicate it, and there it is. So what it does not do, it does not duplicate the routing. But that's okay because routing is pretty easy and usually reserved for the mixing process. Okay, everybody, let's go make our pattern, route them, and then save your music loop in your All Sounds library. Make sure you label it. Peace. Okay, so there you have it. That is how we create different patterns and using the presets or the patterns and the kits and on our 808 Roland drum machine and actually routing each of those to their individual channels. So look, 808, it's an icon, and now you guys will have firsthand knowledge on how to become an icon yourself using the 808. Peace.